Welcome to Dynamos Dozen, the podcast that I bring you each and every single week, where I talk about whatever may be on my mind, from pro wrestling, sports, entertainment, music, movies, muesli, fresh socks and jocks, and everything in between. Never forgetting the legal white powder that you can buy in any pharmacy or any store. So don't come at me and accuse me of anything. Welcome, guys. This is your Dynamos Dozen Royal Rumble review. We promised we would bring it. I am joined once again, of course, by my right-hand man, Mr. Shopkeeper Niall Hogan himself. Niall, you promised you'd be here, and here you are.
Always show up.
Always show up. Always show up. And it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting that we use that verbiage so early on in the show of showing up, because the Royal Rumble is all about who shows up and who doesn't. Some people are happy, some people are disappointed. I think this year we get another bit of a mixed bag if we look across the internet, but we don't really care about those people. Yeah, we do, of course. We're here for all of you. We're here for all of you, and we're here today to talk about what we felt was good and bad, where WWE possibly let themselves down. Where does this leave us going into two massive shows in Dallas, Texas? And I suppose before we get into the breakdown of the show, what ambition is WWE showing amidst all of the talk of potential sales? Yeah. So this is going to be an interesting conversation here. What do you think, Niall?
Well, first of all, I want to put it out there. I hope Mr. Finley Martin is hitting the like button now and putting a bit of respect on my name, because I called it and knocked it out of the park on the preview this time. For once, my booking wasn't crazy and it actually came true. I think I got nearly every match right, so I was happy from that point of view,
You did. And obviously, if anyone out there just heard about it and they would rather, because we did have some comments on the last preview show where they actually said our show was better than the Rumble itself. So it's always nice to hear that. Okay. Maybe we're getting into the world of watch-alongs coming down the line. What do you think? I think we could be onto something there at some point.
Potentially, all right. Yeah, I don't know though. I think it would have been a tough old evening if you had to do a watch along on this one. Although I do have some highlights and lowlights, but I think
there's a lot of highlights. There's a lot of highlights. Well, look, what we said we do. We don't usually do this in Dynamos Dozen, where we go match for match, but I think we decided today that we would, spend some time and go match for match, but we won't spend too much time on each match. We'll break it down. Yeah. The opening match for me was probably match of the night, personally. Was Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, of course, for the Universal Championship. Seth Rollins, man, doing a hell of a job, giving us that throwback to the old
Shield.
The old Shield entrance, and kind of fucking with Reigns. And Reigns kind of getting into his head a little bit. But my God, this is the best I've seen Seth look in a long, long time. Now, with every great performer, that performer needs a great dance partner. So, of course, we're getting the consistency of Reigns in this match. But Reigns done a hell of a job letting his old pal getting a lot of shine in this match, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. It came straight out of the bat, really, but I just thought it was cool when the music hit, first of all, and they panned to Reigns and the shock on his face. And when the music hit, I have to say, I was ready to pop for one Dean Ambrose, John Moxley. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, so it kicked me off on the pay-per-view straight away, really, really quick, But I seen Reigns coming out, he'd all that old Shield gear on him. Having said that, didn't have the blonde going through the hair though as much, but still looked fantastic. Took his time coming down to the ring. I was thinking it was a throwback when he was walking down through the crowd and down through those steps. I had a bit of a throwback moment to was it WrestleMania 4 where they came down the steps
That
Atlantic
was
City or whatever.
Trump Plaza.
Yeah, I just had a bit of a throwback moment of that as he came down through the steps so slow and the crowd was on top of him and stuff like that. I thought it was really, really cool. And you could see by Reigns, first of all, he sold it on the basis of a bit of a shock factor. And then he sort of switched it up to being kind of a little bit pissed off about it. So it was pretty cool. Like, you know, Reigns' facials at the moment are just excellent, just on point all the time. Yeah.
They're second to none. And I mean, this really was like a showcase at the start. Like, I mean, Rollins came in hot. I mean, he was still doing that whole kind of antagonizing laugh that some of us like or some of us don't like.
Yeah.
But the work within the match, you know, getting that power bomb, good Lord, onto the table very, very early on as well was like a really standout moment. And him selling it as if to say, I have a chance here. Like, I was coming in to fuck with this guy. I actually have a shot.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously Reigns takes the, no pun intended, takes the reins later on in the match. But then there's still a lot of great little hope spots within the match where you're thinking, shit, are WWE going to throw us a curveball here? What's going on? Very, I would say a very, very modern take on a very, very old school classic style wrestling match. This was a pro wrestling match for me. Yeah. This was a story told. One of the better WWE matches I've seen in a long time. I got to be honest. Don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I do. I like, you know, the way it opened up, of course, with all this Shield stuff and all, was just like proper shithousery, really, you know. And that's
exactly the word. That's exactly the word.
And then it went from there, kind of like, I mean, like we know how good. We've always known how good Rollins is. He's always been a really good performer. But Reigns has stepped up his game so much as well. But I just thought, you know, some of the back and forth was absolutely brilliant. I mean, obviously the spear into the pedigree for me was a real top moment. I've never seen a reversal like that, and I just thought it was really, really cool. Like, you know, came out of nowhere, like, you know. But yeah, it was just, and I like the way I like the way Rollins as well. He looked really good in this match as well, and he did give that hope that there is a chance he could potentially win it. But if you notice, he moved back to his old move set. So we were getting curb stomps and all sorts of stuff and all. So it was really, really cool, you know, which is the kind of thing he would need going up against a much bigger man.
So, and as safe as houses buckle bomb.
Yeah. The only I mean, the only thing that didn't sit with me probably was the finish. The finish was kind of the match justified a better finish, I think. It may have been the same outcome, but a better way of doing it. I thought he could have got a bit more creative on the finish. But I have to say, Reigns, when he picks up that chair and he goes at him with that chair, I thought was really cool. He was laying it in there, and Rollins was taking every bit.
I'll be honest with you. I'm sick of the same generic finishes in pro wrestling these days. So I was actually okay with the finish because WWE hadn't done that in quite a while. Not to my knowledge, not in a big pay-per-view, one of the big four. Yeah. So it was kind of okay. I see where you are. I see where you're coming from with it. But I was actually okay with the finish purely because what it did was it lends WWE a chance now to potentially give Rollins a bit of a rub of the babyface run, potentially. Yeah. Because obviously he garnered sympathy because, I mean, he got absolutely smacked around and he got up and he put the hand out and, you know, tried to be a man and say, look, and then what it also does, it really, really lends credence to Reigns being this absolute shite hawk.
It was more the way maybe the referee, like the way the referee checked the arm, and it was so obvious that he lay it on the ropes. It was that kind of thing. Really, was kind of. I agree it wasn't so much the method of the victory and stuff like that. It was the kind of the setup to it, if you like. Kind of was a little bit kind of. Because the match, because it was an excellent match, you see. So
it really was an excellent match. I mean, like if I was, I don't know if I ever happened to had a match, you know, in my life and kind of understood, you know, the genius that would be a Dave Meltzer, and I had the ability to give it a star, but, you know, I'd give it a star, but quite clearly, you know, we're not on his level. So I'm going to refrain from the stars, but I'm going to say it was a a 10 out of 10 for me.
Don't be a bully, be a star. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm only fucking with Meltzer.
Yeah.
I'm only
Yeah.
No, it was for me. It was definitely. It was a very, very, very high in the spectrum of being a perfect match, like a 15-minute match that had everything in it, all action, but story told within it. So great opening match. And of course, Reigns retains the title for anyone that
from DQ.
didn't see it. And then, of course, we went straight in then to the into the women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah, just before we go on that SmackDown, of course, I hope they continue to explore that kind of Joker character for Rollins, because I think he'd be exquisite at it when he was wearing that purple suit on SmackDown last week and pulling off that kind of Joker kind of way. I thought he was really cool as one of those, crazy Jokers. I think that would fit with him really well. Looked the part he did, looked brilliant in the purple suit and all, So hopefully that continues in some shape, form, or fashion, So yeah, Women's Royal Rumble. Where do we begin?
Well, with Sasha Banks and whatever those ridiculous things in her hair she was wearing, because they were falling out in the first lockup. I was like, what are they? It was like two speakers in her hair. She looked really good early on. I thought, she lasted quite a while, and I thought, okay, there could be potential here for Sasha to get into the final four, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, we kind of got Easter, Christmas, Halloween, and everything in this one match, and then there was no surprise at the end, bar maybe a couple of little spurs.
I thought the beginning was really good. And look, we're big fans of Sasha Banks. We know that her ring gear was absolutely outstanding, although the hair was a bit of a stretch, let's say. But she looks every bit of a star. And I thought again at the start of the match with Melina, the kind of shithousery was really cool as well. You know what I mean? Because she was slagging her about saying, "Come on up, are you going to try to do the splits?" And then she did the splits, and then there was a bit of back and forth. And then when she turfed her out,
man, I loved that the way Sasha done the kind of front splits. But what was the story with Melina crying at the start as well? I was like, Jesus, this isn't WrestleMania, Melina. Like, you're about to get. But then the fact that she got hooked out.
Yeah.
A couple of seconds later.
I suppose it is. I suppose when you go back after being there for so long and you do go back, what they call going back home, it can probably get a bit emotional for you in front of a crowd like that. You know what I mean? It can
By the way, just quick one for Melina Perez. Do you know what? I heard some people on Twitter saying, "Oh, it looks like she's put a bit of weight on her." Well, I'll tell you one thing, it suits her. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I didn't dwell on that too much, to be honest. Look, sometimes we forget.
No, I didn't dwell on it. I dwelled on looking at.
No, but I mean in terms of people.
She looked shit hot.
Yeah, but I just think in terms of that, I think what people forget as well is, like, these people are coming back in as kind of legends or ex employees and stuff like that. They've been gone for a long time. They haven't all necessarily left and gone on the road and done indies and done all that kind of stuff. They've gone off and they lived lives because they made their living in the past. So they're not all going to come out looking amazing, but I think she looked really, really well. And I think
she looked amazing personally,
now,
man.
I was concerned at the start when she went to do the splits. I was going, this might not go too well. Because, as you know, people who do the splits and stuff like that, if you are carrying that extra baggage, you're not always as flexible as you used to be. But I thought she was absolutely brilliant. And I thought the back and forth with her and Sasha was brilliant.
There was never a doubt in my mind. I was just going, okay.
Yeah, no, it was cool.
We move on.
Yeah.
We move on. No, and I was never that attracted to Melina. I'm just saying, when I saw people kind of pointing those kind of things out, I was like, Jesus, I thought she looked really good. She held her own. Now there was a lot more surprises in this match, like in terms of comebacks and stuff, than what we expected probably in the men's one. Kelly came out looking pretty much unrecognizable in my book.
But really. Still looking amazing. But certainly, if you hadn't got a history and you knew who Kelly was, you wouldn't recognize. She's
still looked
very changed, but looked amazing and in great shape.
Now you will notice, but at the same time, and I will call it out as well. You see some of these girls, ladies, women that come back, and you can tell that they never had a proper training within pro wrestling. They were the divas. This is the divas generation. And you could see that they were out of their element with some of these young ladies, couldn't you?
Well, the business has evolved greatly, hasn't it? And
that's what I mean.
It's a different business now. Yeah.
It's no knock on the young ladies or the.
But I would say as well, still well capable of dishing it out when needed. So
not so much in this match. I thought this was very weak. I'm gonna be honest.
No, but I'm thinking the likes of Lita, and I think Lita gave a great account.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. But I mean, when you're looking at someone like a Kelly and they're in there getting strikes from, you know, let's say like a Mickie James or you know, or Sasha Banks or something like that.
Yeah,
they're kind of hitting these little pussy things back, and you're going, oh yeah, you can see the difference. They didn't like it being laid in back then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But I suppose when you talk about Mickie James and obviously Sasha Banks, you're talking about like Mickie James is still very active as a wrestler. So like she wouldn't have lost any step at all. Whereas these girls have been out of the business a while now. You know what I mean?
So Mickie James is quite clearly over the black bag incident.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. Which
I did pop for the music, and I did pop for her wearing the Impact belt. In fairness, I thought it was
I loved it. I thought that was her way of saying, there we go. And that's kind of what led me to think here, going further into the pay-per-view, that we could get some more forbidden doors unlocked, because you kind of sold us a bill of you sold us a kind of a bill of goods on the last episode and got us all excited for some of these forbidden doors being unlocked, and I'm sure you probably made yourself upset too later as we go.
You know what it is? They brought me on the journey again, and I don't mind when they bring me on the journey, but they brought me on the journey. But Mickie James coming out the hardcore country with the Impact belt was as good as the Forbidden Door got.
Do you know what?
That was the opening and the closing of the Forbidden Door.
That was it. Like that deserves a Randy Orton one of them, doesn't it? Like that's about it.
Puzzling.
Puzzling. Look, you know, without spending it was just under the hour mark, 59 minutes 40 seconds. Ronda Rousey came back. Now I'm not going to lie, I did mark out, for anyone that knows me knows that I'm a Ronda Rousey fan, both from her MMA days and her wrestling days. I still think she holds the best debut in professional wrestling ever, aside from myself, but no one ever seen that, bar 300 people that were there on the night. I had to throw that in. At least I'm taking the piss out of myself as well. Right. Anyone that thinks that that's ego talking, that's me taking the piss, so go fuck yourself. No, I think Ronda, look, she's a star, man. Like, she is an absolute star. She came back, she looked great. She obviously got the, you know, I have to be careful about it, but she's got something there that wasn't there before. You know.
Having kids can do that to you, let's be honest there.
I know exactly what it is.
The only thing I know where you're coming from on that, but I have to say
she looked.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I thought she looked great. You know, I love the way she came back down with Piper's jacket again as well. She looked like she meant business. Now, as big a fan of Ronda as I am, she did look a little rusty. Looked like she hadn't been kind of working on, you know, some of the strikes and all that stuff looked a little bit Shane O'Mac weak, if I may be so bold. But she definitely brought that star presence back, and the fans were behind her this time, potentially winning this, because they knew that this is going to be good for business. Would you agree with that?
I'd agree with some of it. The one thing I find with Ronda Rousey, first of all, when she came out, I had to pinch myself because I thought maybe it was a crown jewel or something like that, because she was decked out in the black gear from head to toe, you know. So it was kind of weird ring gear. First of all,
but she had the little sneak peek of the.
Yeah, but like, you know, they were pushing it a bit. The other thing I find as well, when she comes out, the problem for Ronda Rousey is she's a badass, but she doesn't look like a badass because she looks so soft in the face and so angelic. So the problem is when she comes out onto the ramp and she wants to be, I'm this badass, and she's forcing it, and the facials are kind of, she goes, you know, that kind of thing, and the strut to the ring and all, and you're looking at it going, look, try and just become more naturally. Everyone knows you're a badass ex-UFC fighter. You don't have to come down looking like that. You know what I mean? Because if you think about it, 10 minutes later when she wins the Rumble, she's walking around the ring all smiling, you know, like a I don't know, what would you say, like a 19-year-old girl on a prom date or something like that, you know what I mean? And she couldn't be furthest away from what you would think is a badass. So it's kind of like when I see Ronda, and I'm a big fan of Ronda, don't get me wrong, I think she's brilliant for the business. I was surprised the crowd got behind her so well in terms of how she left, because she kind of left.
I was happy about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely happy, but it was kind of a weird reaction insofar as I thought the crowd would have been more, would have more memories of what was said on the way out. But yeah, she came in, as you said about the punches. The punches to me just seemed, I don't know, we don't want to use the word very worked or something like that.
But look, the girl has the ability to actually fucking puncture a bleeding hole in you, if she wants to. Do you know what I mean? And you know, just as a rebuttal, and I'm not doing this to call you out on that, to her entrance, look, that was what made her fucking, you know, gravy back in UFC when she walked down like that. So I guess what she's trying to do is kind of work that into her pro wrestling style of things. So it's kind of, respectfully, I would say that's I think that would be a bit of a weak call out on her. I don't think that's too bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
the only thing I would say is I think you are onto something, because I think we could be in agreement here. I think if she wore the hoodie the way she used to back into the ring, the way she had it covering her face, and then you just see the frown, that might be more, you know. But I gotta call one person out. Shayna Baszler, when she came down, man, I don't know whether I'm the only fucking Shayna Baszler fan on the planet, but my God, is she not underrated? I mean, she carries herself like a pro wrestler, like someone that can actually hurt you. The way she stands in the ring, she's like a female Dynamite Kid, if I'm being honest.
See, that's what I mean. She could walk out onto the ramp, pull off that face, and strut down like Ronda, and you'd believe her that she's believable, even though we know Ronda's believable. But I just don't know what it is. It's something that they might want to look at, because the music, even the music is kind of like I love the music, but I just don't know. I just think there's a bit of confusion when it comes to Ronda, because she's coming down as this badass girl, and you're not sure whether she's a heel or a baby face, or what is she going to be, or is she just someone that comes down and she's in between and wants to kick the shit out of a few girls. So you're not too sure what it is. So it's kind of hard to understand it. And it's for me, it's been a bone of contention all along with Ronda's her entrances and stuff like that. I just think, you know, I look at her walking down with that puss on her face and that strut, and I don't know whether to cower in the corner in fear or whether to fall around the floor laughing. I'm not too sure. So, and because there's that dilemma, it's very hard for me to buy into it. That's my problem with it. That's all.
That's fair. Yeah. And like, you know, a lot of people, I think that's a very, very fair assessment. I mean, I can't tell you you're wrong on that. You know what I mean? I can't. But what I can say is that without a shadow of a doubt, she's one of the biggest stars on the planet, male or female. So
100%.
Absolutely, it made sense that WWE would bring her back. A lot of people were unsure whether she would come back just as a, you know, maybe a gimmick at the end of the show to point at, you know, Charlotte or Becky or whatever. Yeah. So it was fantastic, and the way Charlotte came in, you know, as the star, doing one for the team as well. As Charlotte is, she is the star, isn't she?
Yeah.
But yeah, Ronda Rousey wins a very, very long Women's Royal Rumble, but one that wasn't, you know, unentertaining for me. Was okay.
Yeah, no, there was little dynamics in it. Like I thought the Nikki ASH and the Molly Holly stuff I thought was kind of cool.
The Bellas bothered me coming back, to be honest with you, the way they go on, the greatest, you know, and it still always irks me. I'm using a word that you like to use, irk. I do like that word. It does irk me that the two of them are like Hall of Famers, you know what I mean, when, you know, certain people aren't, when they were never that good anyway, and they were basically riding the two boys. Let's be real. So they came back and they were okay, but they didn't entertain me too much. They were just.
But I think in a Royal Rumble where you have 30 women, I think it's important to have different levels of dynamic.
Oh yeah. It was good that they were there.
There's a place there for it and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was good that they were there. I think I'm just kind of more so calling out commentary on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like, come on, don't. It's like, don't try to fuck it. It's like when the Premier League tells you that Man United are still relevant, but you know they're not. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's kind of the way I feel about that. It's probably the best analogy I could give on this situation.
I also
and I got you laughing on that. You're not in disagreement there, you know.
I've never been in disagreement on comments.
You are Mr. Upper Tier after all.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, I popped greatly for Ivory when she came out with the right to censor stuff. I thought that was cool. And I tell you one thing,
she was fantastic.
When you talk about a veteran that has looked after herself and looks $1,000,000, she looked the exact same as she did back then. She's like a fine wine. She looks brilliant.
And then when she went over the rope as well, she goes, "What are you doing? How dare you?"
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like, you know, she just looked the part. You know, I think that right to censor stuff is something they could bring back now. I think a slant on that would work really good in the current climate. Yeah. So it was kind of cool.
100%. 100%, yeah. Get Joe Rogan in on the gig there. Give him a few trophy million of him, and he'd be right in there.
Joe Rogan has his own problems at the moment. We'll leave him to it.
Joe Rogan has no problems. However, Neil Young has many problems, because guess what? Make sure that there's no skeletons when you start throwing stones, because his opinions of AIDS in the 80s is all coming out today. Yeah. Sorry, Neil.
Tell us about this. What did you make of the only thing I was slightly let down a little bit on was Sasha Banks going out of the match so early. But I presume
I didn't like that. That bothered me a lot. I was kind of that was kind of like, you know, to steal a Jim Cornette saying, she was kind of my pony in the race, to be honest. That's who I was kind of rooting for.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether it was to protect her because she's only coming back off injury and we are on the road to
possibly,
or very possibly, whether she was on the verge of a huge hair malfunction. I wasn't too sure. So it was
well, the hair. I could feel the hair malfunction, to be fair, and I'm a guy who used to have long hair. Yeah. You're a guy that has long hair. Yeah. We know it can go south if you start messing with it, if you don't leave it in its natural form. But when you're someone like Sasha, who probably wears different types of wigs when she's doing it and then has them all done up and they're special, you know what I mean? It did look like there was ribbons hanging out of it. There was like
I just found every time someone went in on her, I was feeling like, you know, I was nearly from the crowd going, "Ref, get them off the hair, get them off the hair."
I was hoping actually that one of the girls would have the wherewithal to go, right, I'll take that out for you. And we just put it back in its natural form. Like, I'm pretty sure she had a ghetto blaster hidden somewhere in the back of that hair as well. It was very interesting. But no, Sasha for me would be she'd kind of be, along with Bex, she would be someone that I'd be rooting for quite a bit. So, but like I say, as soon as I saw Ronda come back, I was like, right, I know where they're going here. It's obvious to everybody. Now bringing Ronda back to, you know, and the good news is that she's not just back to, you know, on a part-time contract. She's here for the year. She's here from Mania to Mania, Rumble to Rumble, or whatever. And you know, she's back in the game. So that's a good thing. Next match, obviously staying on the women, Becky and Doudrop. Now, I watched this match again today, and the only reason I say that I watched it again today is purely because I did fall asleep, but that was because of the time. That's all. Because of the time, it was I watched a lot of matches, you know, after the fact, because of the time difference over here. So that wasn't a slight on anyone.
And the fact that we had a good night out on Saturday.
Oh, we did. And we did. And we mentioned that. We mentioned that on the previous show, that we would be getting pretty fucked up with alcohol. And Niall definitely brought more than dewdrops. He brought every sort of drop that would be on the top shelf.
We worked our way well down through the menu, let's say.
Niall was ordering from the top shelf that night, let's just say. And the liquor was flowing. So, but it was a decent match. I Dewdrop. I mean, she's what I do like about her is like, and you have to be careful what you say here. Like, she is a larger girl, so obviously they're going for a different type of body, which I like. You know what I mean? So she does remind me that she has that kind of Yokozuna / Bam Bam Bigelow, Big Van Vader kind of ability to move. You know what I mean? She's quite athletic, and she can work. So, I think all power to her. I think she gave a good account of herself as well. I thought Becky done a great job of selling for her as well. And definitely it wasn't made to be like a one-sided champion versus contender match. So it'll be interesting to see what Dewdrop has got going forward, because there's definitely potential there with her. What do you think?
Yeah, I think with this match, originally when I did the preview, I was thinking this is kind of just a throw together match and it's a filler and stuff like that. But yeah, it impressed me insofar as it was decent. Like, we know how good Dewdrop is. For a girl of her size and stuff like that, she moves brilliantly and stuff like that. She's very athletic and stuff like that. And more often than not, when you're in there with the bigger girls as well, it's difficult to figure it out and work it out and get your timing right down and all that kind of stuff, because it can sometimes, you can get it in your mind that this is how you're going to put it together and that it's going to flow. And then if it kicks out of its rhythm at all, you kind of can lose your way in a match like this. And it's very hard to kind of get it back if you drop that momentum.
Yeah.
But I thought the girls did a great job. I thought Becky came out looking really well. I thought Dewdrop looked really well coming out of the match. She did herself. She didn't look like she was out of place. And she looked like down the road for future, she could knock herself up into that next step, if you like, as opposed to being just filler. So I stand corrected in terms of, I thought it was just a kind of a filler thing on the road to the Chamber or Mania, whatever it is.
Me too.
But in actual fact,
too.
I think she did really well.
Yeah, and that's why I said, like, because you probably get people saying, "Oh, you just compared her to Yokozuna." Well, yeah, because she's a larger girl, and what I'm saying is that for a larger girl, she moves really, really well.
Yeah,
the way he was able to.
Yeah, you're not discussing her physique. You're talking about in terms of her athletic ability, in terms of being able to move, and her ring work and stuff.
Look.
Yeah, it's not
her look.
Absolutely no more. The girl's a beautiful looking girl.
Oh, 100%. And I'm actually, giving her kudos here, because I really thought she made an absolutely fantastic account of herself. I even liked the little bonsai drop.
Yeah, no, it was cool. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And she done it safe as houses as well. I'm like, look, the more workers we get from over this side of the pond, I'm happy with. I love seeing all these guys and gals getting the rub. So obviously we knew Becky would win, so she won. And then we went into Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. Now, this was something that you mentioned earlier that you called.
I did.
However, the context of how this happened a little bit earlier, because a lot of people will remember that you expected a Heyman turn, but possibly at Mania. We got that a little bit earlier.
What I'm predicting coming out of this is we got the first turn early, but we could still get a WrestleMania turn again. We could.
All right. Well, now, Finley's back with the dislike button.
He's on the dislike button like crazy now. He's absolutely banging it with his fist at this time.
He's like, "Come on, Niall, you've just had me. I've been listening to you, and now you're fucking with me again." No, this was 10-minute match. I thought this was a fantastic match. What do I say about Brock Lesnar? I think it's about time that people start putting fucking greatness beside his name. For people that don't, I mean, I think the people that do know. But I was watching this match, and there was a lot of talk about would there be egos involved because it's him and Lashley. Listen, Lashley knows if he's going into an MMA match with Brock in their prime, he's probably not coming out victorious. But I thought Brock done a great job in making Lashley look fantastic in this match. And also, I mean, look, Lashley, when Lashley didn't have much of a choice, no one has a choice. You could, going back to Yokozuna could go to Suplex City and he wouldn't have a choice. Brock is just that kind of guy. But one thing I notice, every time, even when he gets punched into the stomach, you ever notice the way he jumps up? Like he puts his heart and soul into it. If he's into the guy that he's working with, my God, he absolutely puts his heart and soul into it. Yeah, and there's no one better.
Yeah, that's the point I made on the preview. One thing I said on the preview was if you get a motivated Brock Lesnar who's really into what's going on and being booked properly, and you have him up against legit opponents that he can buy into, and he believes, and it's believable to him, not just you're trying to force it to the audience. When he's motivated, there's no one better at times in terms of putting matches together, in terms of doing the job for people, in terms of making people look $1,000,000. And I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at this matchup, you know, this matchup was kind of the correction from the fallout of day one and stuff like that. It was a cog in the correction, if you like. And I just thought, look, you're looking at Bobby Lashley, who looks $1,000,000. I wasn't overly sold on the John Morrison Eminem bottoms on him, but I still think as a physique he looked the business.
No, I absolutely love the long tight. You know what? It's about time wrestlers start wearing long tights again, I have to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
I think it really stood out. Well, what do you want to watch, lads in cacks anymore? Like
it's not that. But if you're talking about two legit guys going in there who want to absolutely beat the shit out of each other, and both of them, remember they did the build up to this match was all about these guys being both very legit ex-MMA guys, all that kind of stuff. Then Lesnar comes out looking like an absolute monster. You know what I mean? Lashley comes out. I don't know what it is about Bobby. I think with Bobby, at times for me, maybe he's just a bit too polished. That's what I would say. Whereas I'd like to see a rugged more side of him. Like if you look at Lesnar at the moment, he's coming out in the jeans and the flannel shirt, and he looks a bit raggedy and a bit ruggedy and stuff like that and all. So you can tell this guy probably spends the day on the farm chopping logs, and then he goes down to local boozer for a few scoops and beats the fucking crap out of the lads. That type of thing, you know. I think with Bobby at times, but you got to remember, Bobby is an ex-Marine and stuff like that and all. He's an ex-Army guy and stuff like that. But he's just a bit... Yeah. I'd like to see Bobby Lashley maybe with a little bit of hair on the chest and maybe a little bit of stubble and just be a little bit more rugged if he's going to pull off this kind of, you know, this kind of character, if you like. He's just a bit too polished for me. That's all I would say on it, you know.
No, I hear what you're saying, but I think the tights work. I think that the look that he had, bottom half look. Now, I think a big long beard or something would probably make him look pretty badass as well.
Yeah.
Don't forget, this is the same thing that Lesnar had. He always had, you know, the flat top, the clean shave, and now all of a sudden, in fact, my Rachel woke up watching the Rumble, and she woke up at the end of the Rumble. We won't give that away yet. Obviously, we're going to get there, and she was like, "Jesus, never thought I'd see Brock Lesnar look so well."
Yeah,
because he had that the hair looked amazing. The way he had the kind of the plait.
Yeah, it was put together, but it still looked a bit fucked up, like you know that kind of way.
But it's deadly, so much so that I'm thinking of literally growing the hair out now so I can shave a mohawk and plait it.
Yeah, but see, there's a dynamic to what Lesnar's doing there. When we talk about layers in a character, this is a guy who's coming out, and everyone is saying this guy is so switched on now. He gives a shit. He cares about the business now. But if you look at him coming out, he's the guy who doesn't give a shit, who cares so much. So he kind of confuses the audience. You know,
he's always look. Anybody that says that Brock has never given a shit about the business is full of shit themselves. Because if you talk to any professionals that have worked with him, and if you talk to any professionals that have watched him, I believe Bret Hart even turned around before and said that Brock Lesnar is like one of a kind. You know, and a guy that he would have loved to work with, because. Look what he done with the Demon. Even remember the Royal Rumble a couple of years back.
Yeah,
when they had that whole thing where he put him into the side of the I think it was the announce table.
Yeah,
and he sold it like a fucking $1 million. It's like what you're saying is 100% correct. I think Yeah, so what we were saying there, we had the gremlins in the internet, like when you look at even look at Brock with the demon when he was doing the demon character, you know what I mean? He sold the fact that he had that injury, you know what I mean? The really serious, illness that he had.
Yeah.
And he literally got thrown around by a lad half his size and had no problem doing it. No problem doing it. The point I'm making here is, and it lends itself to the point that you were making. Once you get Brock interested in something, he is game on. It's only when you start giving him ridiculous stuff that he'll go, oh, look, I'm out for a year or two. Fuck off. Come back to me, when you've got something for me. But there is no better performer in the modern age than Brock when it comes to the in-ring stuff in terms of selling. Like when he sells getting beaten up, good Lord, he does it. And he makes his opponent look good, and he makes the company look good, and he makes the business look good. So I thought this was a really good match, but let's get to the swerve one, as you said. I just think it's the swerve.
Yeah, it was kind of, it was, we kind of, I had called it that Bobby was going to win in the preview. And we had said that there was going to be a swerve coming from Heyman, that it was due. Albeit people maybe thought that it might happen at Mania. But I suppose when you look at Brock in terms of Mania and stuff like that, it's a difficult conundrum in there, you know what I mean? Because it's just, we know all roads lead to him and Reigns. The question is, when it gets there, what way does the company want to go? How does the direction want to go? And how do they protect their two biggest stars in terms of the men's situation? So it's a difficult dilemma for them. But I thought Heyman, Heyman sold the whole swerve in terms of handing the belt. And he also sold himself as if his heart was pulled and tormented by it, because he's kind of went over nice and slow with it. Like, I don't really want to do this, but I kind of have to do it. And I suppose he sold it in a way as well as, like, the last guy you want to be double crossing would be Brock Lesnar. But I thought it was brilliant the way it was done. And I thought it was a great match. I thought Lashley was brilliant. Certainly deserving as a winner and as a champion. And now we move on into the Elimination Chamber, so that's gonna be certainly interesting. There's a stellar lineup for that, which we'll get on to. There's been a little bit of changing of the guard there, somewhat, in terms of what came out of the Royal Rumble, which we'll get on to talk to shortly.
Yeah. Now the next match I don't want to spend too much time on, because I think it was just a bit of a nonsensical match, even though there's people in it that I appreciate. Edge, Beth Phoenix, Miz, and Maurice. I don't think Maurice has any business in a wrestling ring. That's just my own opinion. Miz, in fairness, done great in guiding her in this match. You can actually hear him at points going boop, boop, boop. I thought Beth Phoenix looked shit cool, I have to say. Little Luna Vachon fucking throwback, little tribute.
Yeah.
And the hair and all was cool. It was okay. It was okay. But meaningless match, really. And doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. Edge and Beth Phoenix won.
Not unexpected.
No. So we get on to the main event now. 30-man Royal Rumble. This was one that I would imagine everybody stayed out for, hoping for certain legends to come back. And once again, WWE did fail to what's the word?
Deliver.
Yeah, I was going to say deliver. Deliver was the word that was on my mind, but failed to provide. Because it's not delivering anymore, it's providing. You're providing needs as a company that is, paying for, taking your time to watch these is hard enough. And this was just, it was decent. There was some bits in it that were okay.
Most of it was shite. Let's be honest there.
Yeah,
I could call
it. Bad Bunny in it again, and then you have these absolute lunatics. And friends of mine, I got into arguments with last WrestleMania because Bad Bunny done a few fucking Hurricane Ranas. The easiest fucking move in the world to do when someone that knows what they're doing does it. Hence why Lita made a living in pro wrestling. Sorry, just got to call the kettle black and kind of fucking address the elephant in the rear. Lita is shite purely because all she knew how to do was fucking rip off her ex-boyfriend's move and do a Hurricane Rana and a really bad moonsault. Now, this is exactly what Bad Bunny does.
The only thing I would say in relation to this,
Lita was hot though.
No,
it's different.
Yeah, and that kind of like, I just got sacked by Blink 182 look, it's kind of a bit weird, yeah. But before we get into that, like, I have to say, when I seen Bad Bunny facing off against Brock Lesnar, and when I seen Brock Lesnar get him up for the F5 and he took the F5, the first thing I thought straight away was, it's probably the most enjoyable F5 that Ian has ever experienced. That's what I was thinking.
Yep. And would you like to know something? It was true. There was two things in that match. Look, I'm a fan of Johnny Knoxville. Do you know what I mean? I'm a fan of Johnny Knoxville. I was kind of hoping that my boy AJ would be the one, because that was the talk. You know what I mean? I was hoping AJ would be the one, especially coming in at number one then too. They kind of threw us a swear ball. But again, Vince doesn't like anyone, under 5'10". So I get it.
If you've got another organization's tattoo stamped on your arse, basically, he's not going to promote you certainly in any way.
He's not going to do that. And even though he's he's made Vince money and put asses in seats, it's like, oh, sorry, we've got this guy who's big. Even ones that have porno movies with other people. Who was your man? He had the gay porn. And then he was found out they were about to run him to the fucking hills.
What was that? Lars Sullivan, was it? Lars
Sullivan. There we go. Lars Sullivan.
I was listening to it. I was going, who's he talking about here now? I have to roll that back.
Yeah. And then poor old Lars Sullivan was like, that came out. I was like, that's game over for Vince. Vince only likes that behind closed doors. In his office. But anyway.
Well, that's the talk, not from Dynamos, doesn't. But that's the talk.
No, that's the talk. That's the talk. I'm sure someone could ask, if someone really wanted to ask Shawn Michaels a proper shoot question, they could probably get the answer. I don't know.
Who knows? One day we might get our opportunity.
Maybe. Yeah. Poor old Shawn. No, all joking aside, we're ribbing. The thing about it is, though, like, you bring these guys in, right? Obviously, and like I say, when Knoxville came in, he was coming in to take a smack from someone.
Yeah.
And it was funny because Rachel loves Johnny Knoxville as well, and Jackass, and I do too. Like, he's old. He's old now. These lads shouldn't be fucking doing this shit. Like, and I was like, oh, he's just got a nice chest fucking forearm there on AJ, and I know there's a receipt coming. It just depends on whether AJ wants to be fucking nice enough.
Johnny Knoxville would probably encourage you to hit him with a proper punch. He's that type of guy, like,
and that's exactly what happened. He got those fucking smacks in. AJ, just as AJ can do, gets them in and then boom, leveled. And I was thinking to myself, why couldn't that happen to someone like Bad Bunny? And then
you got what you wanted.
My favorite Viking.
Yeah, I had visions of you out of your seat going, don't ever get involved in my WrestleMania again, boy. I'd say you were out of your seat for that.
That's exactly what it was. And it looked like you didn't really want to. Yeah. But that was definitely a Brock for the boys, wasn't it? That was him going. When you think about it, I mean, I understand, but like, what always did Bad Bunny bring to the Royal Rumble? I get it. When it's WrestleMania, you know what I mean? Yeah. I get it, and I get that Jackass. We knew Johnny Knoxville was going to be in. because they're obviously promoting the movie.
The new movie.
They were all there.
Yeah.
But Bad Bunny's coming in as like, oh, he potentially wants to be a pro wrestler when the lad hasn't lifted a dumbbell in his entire life. You know what I mean? Literally, not that I'm a huge guy, but at the same time, I know the difference from a dumbbell and a fucking microphone.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you're looking at the guys that are under contract in WWE that were missing that could have potentially come up in that spot. You know what I mean? There was no Balor, which there you go. There was no
so the rumors were true. He was back in Ireland.
He was back in Bray and I didn't even text him. Should have texted that night.
Could have come out on the beer with us.
I know.
Yeah.
Very good. Wouldn't you fucking let us know, man? Should have been listening to the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a decent Royal Rumble. I think Drew looks like $1 million at the moment. He's a monster. He is a monster. Actually, again, when you talk about the casual fan, you'll see on tomorrow's show, Vince Russo, of course, the most controversial figure probably in pro wrestling. He will say this, like, you know, who do the casual fan like? It's kind of like, you know, when I see someone like Rachel going, Jesus, there's not much of a size difference between Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre now. It's like, there's not, you know, but there's something about Brock, isn't there? That it's like, this is this Viking. He might be shorter, but he's that width.
There's a body of work and a foundation within Brock Lesnar from the mat. That no deadlifting and squatting and barbell rowing and all can get you there. It's a mechanics thing, isn't it?
Yeah, what's the word? You can be a oh my god. Let me think about this. There's a kind of a Saturday night body, but then there's an everyday body. Do you know what I mean?
There's a Jersey Shore, and then there's genetics.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Brock Lesnar, like when you see those pictures cropping up now on Paddy Powers and all, when he's like that at 20 years of age after literally snapping someone's neck on the mats, you're like,
okay,
I'm out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting, isn't it, as well, because obviously Kurt Angle has been cleared to wrestle again as well, and he's been talking about WWE wanting to bring him back on screen and stuff like that. And now, I personally, I would not like to see Kurt get back in the ring. I don't know about you. I just think his legs looked a little bit. Now, that was 2 years ago, so I don't know whether he's able to, you know, if it's Edge style clearance from doctors, no problem.
Yeah, I think he's due over to Dublin, isn't he? He's doing an inside the ropes. He's penciled into doing inside the ropes over here soon, I think. As far as I know, a lot of people have been asking me about Kurt Angle merchandise. But
don't be promoting that company on my Dynamos doesn't, by the way.
No problem.
I don't. The only rub I get is from Finn Martin. Don't mind that Scottish fella.
Well, anyway, I don't know. I kind of pulled the Rumble apart a little bit more than that. I did ask the questions to myself. No Balor, no.
Well, go, yeah. Go.
But the one thing, the couple of things that I pulled around was the whole idea of the Rumble for me is to create layers like a spider's web, where you come out with a number of storylines and a different dynamic that sends you on the road to WrestleMania. And one of the things that kind of bothered me, first of all, was Brock just rocked up to the Rumble. So he didn't take someone out to take their spot. So I was hoping he was going to absolutely obliterate someone backstage because of being double crossed, or he was going to attack someone on the ramp to get that spot in the Royal Rumble rather than just rocking up to the Royal Rumble, because then we were thinking, well, all along he was penciled in to do this. So I would have preferred if someone had been coming out as an entrance and he had a F5 them into the, you know, the screen that they have up there or the setting or whatever, or he had attacked someone backstage and going, no one double crosses me, and he just started killing guys in the corridor. And as a result, whoever was number 30 or whatever it was, you know, got taken out and Brock got his spot. So that was kind of a little bit weird for me. Obviously, we mentioned Balor and Cesaro. Knoxville and Bad Bunny, I think it's just a reflection of where the business is at the moment. It's where entertainment crosses the path with wrestling through promotion and stuff like that. We're probably going to see more of that as the likes of Disney or Peacock or whatever it is, move more and more into the business. There's no doubt about it. I would say I thought Knoxville took his bump to the outside really good. He still looked a bit elastic. As you said, he is aging. But I mean, you're going to be aging when you think of the life that he's led. It'll age you very quickly. If you're going to staple your balls to desks and stuff like that, you're going to age pretty quickly, Bad Bunny, I have to say, I'm with you on Bad Bunny. Look, I'm not running out to buy a Bad Bunny shirt. I know he's a huge star in his realm and stuff like that. But, I thought
Spotify,
but it doesn't matter wherever you earn your dough, But I do think he took the F5 really well, and I knew you would have enjoyed that, so I was glad it was there. The other thing I seen in the match, Big E. This is a guy who a month ago was champion and got eliminated.
I'm actually glad that you brought that up. Yeah. Go ahead.
And he just looked a tad weak. And he got eliminated pretty quickly. And I'm kind of thinking, if WWE is going to, and I had the same ideas with Drew as well. With these are guys who they're building up. These are their stars, if you like, you know what I mean? And I just think when they get eliminated pretty quickly, or they get eliminated in a way where it's not going to a lead-on storyline. If you think of the way Drew was eliminated and kind of his road to WrestleMania, that's where it began and it ended, kind of. What are they going to do with him now? Where's the storyline going to go? So with Big E, it was the same thing. I was thinking, this guy was WWE champion or whatever it was a month ago. Gets eliminated really, really quickly, looks really weak. And I wonder, was a confirmation of what we thought all along, that maybe, like, we like Big E, we love Big E, we're fans of what he does and stuff like that. But was he a level above where he should have been? Is he really the pancakes and unicorn guy? Or is he a legitimate WWE champion down the road again? Or has he had his moment in time? And I just think when you're trying to build stars and then you book them like that, their shine evaporates very, very quickly. And then they just melt into the ether. And that kind of bothered me a little bit throughout this Men's Royal Rumble. We know that the level of talent, there was I was surprised as well that there was such a lack of NXT in it. I thought Tommaso Ciampa could have been in it. I thought it would have been a great opportunity maybe to introduce really slow Braun Breaker, who's doing really good. I thought potentially you could have put an LA Knight in there as well. I thought it would have been a real opportunity to maybe introduce these guys to the WWE universe, not just NXT 2.0, and maybe let them out there in front of a crowd to get a feel for what that's like. Kind of didn't happen, which disappointed me a little bit. But yeah, it was those kind of things. I was more disappointed. I've often spoke about Royal Rumble matches as being the opportunity to layer in storylines.
Before you go there, I just actually wanted to jump in there because you brought up a really good point that's close to my heart. Only because I was thinking about it recently. Like you mentioned Drew, you mentioned Big E. There's probably other people. AJ Styles is a victim of it.
Yeah.
This is really like only. I'll be honest with you, and if you're watching Dynamos for the first time, please do continue watching, because I will call out Vince on the shit, because the problem is that people don't anymore. They blame the writers, they blame this guy, they blame Pritchard, they blame Heyman, they blame everybody else but Vince. The book stops with this old man. Like, he literally is obsessed with big men. If you are not 6 foot plus, you are surplus. You might get a contract, but you're fucking. He's done it with everyone, right? Like I say, tomorrow's show, Vince Russo will be on, and we're going to talk about it. And I absolutely grill. You've seen the show. I put it up to him straight away when he was talking about Finn Balor. What do you mean by this shit? And then we get some context on what he means, right?
Yeah.
Which you obviously understand. Mm. The problem with Vince is he's not even giving the big lads more than a month or two's chance anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not, like, I can't tell you categorically whether Big E is an intercontinental level champion or world level champion, because I don't know yet, because I was watching his character develop and evolve while he was holding the title. And he was getting away from the pancakes and all that kind of stuff. And you could see a little bit more fight and venom within him. It's the same with Drew. Drew carried the company during the pandemic. And then it was like, thank you, but no thank you. And look, I love Drew on a personal level. I still don't think he's up there with Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar. And I just don't see him at that level. I think those two are your guys. I don't see him at the level of bringing in the different fans that, like, say, Stone Cold Steve Austin would have, or like CM Punk, even when he was, on his day, would. But I see him as that kind of guy challenging. So I think he's the fact that he's still there is good. But the point I'm making is they never get a long enough run, and there's one reason for that. When, and you know this, you know, in the 90s, this was your bread and butter. When the likes of Shawn Michaels and Bret and all were getting these runs, Vince needed to try something new. In the Attitude Era, Vince needed to try something new. And even in the 90s, he had no choice but to not run with The Rock, Steve Austin, and Undertaker, those guys. Now he can do what he wants. It's football. It's FIFA, career mode. You can literally sign who you want and do what you want and basically just pick your favorites. And I think that's essentially what it boils down to. And the fact that they have how many writers on their books now? I believe it's close to 30.
Yeah, nearly a writer for nearly every wrestler on the roster that's relevant.
There's no direction.
Yeah. Well, I think what happens, the thing about the Royal Rumble is, in years gone by, it's always been structured in such a way that, like, the opponents that are going into it would have a kind of an underlying feud with someone in the match. And at some point in the match, those two come together. And it causes a kind of a storyline to come out of it. And that normally is splattered throughout the Royal Rumble match. So we get the interest in it, you know what I mean? But I just thought, like, with this one, it was kind of a cluster. Because I know you always get a kind of, there's a bit of filler there where lads are just going against each other and they're filling time and getting ready for their time to go or whatever it is. But there's always those kind of 5 or 6 or 7 pairings in there where you get people who are going to, maybe AJ Styles versus Omos, or, Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens or whatever it is. But in this one...
He looked shocking, by the way, actually, just pointing that out. Your man Omos, oh my God.
Yeah.
He needs a lot of work before he's ready for any kind of singles match. And the reason I'm saying that is because, like, that he's Joint Gonzalez level. Like, what are they actually teaching him down there? Because, like, he didn't even know how to throw a punch, didn't even know how to take time, and, like, if you either got it or you don't. This is not.
I mean, they want big guys in the business, but sometimes guys just are too big. Maybe that's what it is,
He was shocking, and the funny thing, and the reason I'm saying that to you is only because when you mention him, like I say, Rachel's a casual fan. Now, when she's around an obsessive lunatic pro wrestling person like myself, she's going to pick up a thing or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she said it as well. She goes, he has no, like, actual time or verification in his brain as to what's actually happening here. There's like a 5-second pause as to what's going on. And then there's a reaction. It's like, you need to figure out what you want here. Like, do you want Joint Gonzalez in Michael Jordan or Shaq?
Yeah, well, I suppose when you've spent a year or more being mentored by AJ Styles and brought along and stuff like that,
and you can't get it,
and then when that's not there and you're looking over your shoulder, it's kind of like, it's the same. Look at when the Shield broke up, and you had Rollins, Reigns, and Moxley, Dean Ambrose, and you're there. I'm sure Reigns was looking over his shoulder and it felt a little bit weird at first. You know what I mean? Didn't have the two boys there. That support wasn't there. Because in fairness, the other two boys, they weren't that fresh to the business. They've been around the business. They're kind of lifers a little bit.
I know where you're going. You're trying to defend Almost here, but what I'm going to say is...
No, I'm not defending them at all.
If someone throws a punch at you and you don't know how to react without looking over for the support of your friend, then get out.
Well, see, maybe the instruction at the curtain was go down the ramp there and don't sell shit. You're a big dude. maybe that's where it came from. Who knows?
Jesus Christ! But he couldn't even sell the shit that he was doing himself. This is the problem. Like, did they back the wrong? I mean, we thought Braun Strowman was shite, but Jesus Christ! I mean, you probably should have hedged your, you probably should have hedged your bets on him there, Vince, and get Braun in there as the big guy.
Happen.
Look, I mean, personally, I think overall, there was some bright spots in the Rumble. I know we kind of put it over in the sense that we picked out the good stuff and not the bad stuff, because I don't like to shit on people, when they're trying to do their best. But it was a shite Rumble from WWE. We do love doing it, but it was a shite Rumble as a whole in terms of what they've shown us now going into next season. It's the equivalent of your football team that needs strengthening. You need certain pieces for certain parts to really make the whole show feel better. You know what I mean? So you're not just waiting for the main event. You're not just waiting for the opening match. You're waiting for the fillers to be good too. And I don't think WWE delivered on this, which is blending itself to what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't think it delivered on this to show us that there's really much for us to get invested in between the big stuff. Do you know what I mean? Especially over the course of 2 nights.
Well, it's kind of been that way for a while, if you remember. I mean, they've let us down the path for years that we watched the first 20 minutes of Raw and we watched the last 20 minutes of Raw, and everything in between had become a little bit irrelevant, so it's not surprising. The one thing I wanted to point out, I don't know whether you picked up on it today, I was reading about it today, but apparently the Rumble match was produced by one Shane O'Mac. He produced it. And if you look
in the fucking thing.
Yeah, but if you look at the match, he certainly booked himself very strong. I don't know if you picked up on that at all or you looked at it, but certainly. I'm
actually glad you brought that up.
Yeah, but
I'm glad you brought that up. But he was actually someone that I gave out worse than Bad Bunny at the time.
Yeah,
because Rachel was like, "You love Shane O'Mac," and I was like,
"Yeah,
not tonight."
No, we just need that 3 minutes. We don't need 15 minutes or whatever it was.
He's at the packing on a lot of muscle. He trains with some legit people now. He fancies himself as a badass, and he could take out anyone. But listen, his old man fancies himself as a badass in November 1997 in Montreal, and look what happened. You know what I mean? So sometimes you need to get this stuff out of your head and realize that you're better behind the curtain than you are. And Shano is a novelty act. I get it. He's great.
Yeah.
We love him. We buy his shirts. We love him, for what he does. But I think he's actually starting to fancy himself as a wrestler now. And it's kind of like...
Well, see, he doesn't really hold a position in the company at the moment. So he's probably looking for an in or a niche where he can get himself back in there. But I read today
does anyone in Vince's family hold a position in that company at the moment?
And he'll sack his family as quick as he sacks strangers, so it doesn't matter.
But
I read today that apparently he was penciled in to be in the chamber in Jeddah. I think it's moved to now. And he was also supposed to be penciled in for his typical WrestleMania match as well. And apparently on the basis of producing the Rumble, which was poor, let's be honest, but also heavily booking himself in a very strong position. Apparently he's no longer in the chamber, and apparently he's not penciled in anymore for WrestleMania. That's the talk. So we'll have to keep an eye. We'll have to keep an eye on that, because I have to say I am a big fan of Shane O'Mac when it comes to WrestleMania. He does give you those moments without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I could give a fuck about those moments as long as idiots like that aren't fucking, actually sabotaging stuff for the sake of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Making the product weaker. I think if Vince made that call, then he's made a good call. Because Shano's the one that brought that Bad Bunny fucker in as well too. So
there you go. I just thought I'd highlight that one. I don't know if you got a chance to read about it today and stuff.
No, but I'm glad you brought it to my attention now. So
interesting. But we keep an eye on it. No doubt he'll find a way to get back onto the Mania card. Maybe he just didn't fancy the trip to Jeddah.
I'm glad I don't own a Shane O'Mac figure now.
I have a few of them.
I know you do. You have his jerseys and everything.
Absolutely. Here comes the money.
Well, listen, this has been a pleasure as always. We've had some fun talking about it. Even, we always have fun, even when it's a shy pay-per-view. And let's be real, it wasn't a great pay-per-view overall. It was purely because it didn't deliver what it was meant to do, as we mentioned. It didn't really kind of set the narrative and context of what we were meant to get going into the season. Who's going to be top four? Who's going to be battling for relegation? Who's going to be battling out for those lower European spots? This is kind of the questions that usually the Royal Rumble answers or is supposed to. And I don't think we got any of that. But in saying that, still a fun show, still a pro wrestling show. Still got to see Bad Bunny getting F5'd.
I wonder, is the WrestleMania sign going on fire twice? Is that an indication of anything, or is it crowds having to get evacuated underneath the sign?
We have to call in the favor from the Texan. Yeah,
interesting.
I'd say Stone Cold is so delighted he never called in that one favor once he healed up, because he knew. I'd say he knew straight away. I go back once, the motherfucker's going to be on to me every other week,
Well, he's the host for Mania, isn't he? So he's going to have to get involved. I'm sure he's going to be involved in some shape, form, or fashion. So never say never.
But that's why he's smart. Yeah. Whereas the poor old fucking dead man always puts the tights on. You're like, could Undertaker not just come out and host the fucking thing in that voice? I tell you, I'd probably find it more entertaining than some of the stuff that I watched there the other night. So
I don't know. I'm wondering, could you sell Undertaker as a host? I'm not too sure him walking out and hosting. I think his personality.
My rebuttal. If you can sell Bad Bunny as a professional wrestler, you can sell the Undertaker as a host.
Yeah, I don't know whether Undertaker hosting Mania would do for me. Going into the Hall of Fame, yeah, and appearing and doing a few bits, but for a night's hosting, I'm not too sure.
So I suppose that really does about wrap it up for this week, Niall. We've covered all the ground that we needed to cover with this year's Royal Rumble, and we will wait with bated breath to see what the other company does now. Considering Forbidden Doors were supposed to be open and all that kind of stuff, so I'm sure they're watching, going, okay, they're not really up to much, so we'll just keep doing what we're doing. But until next time, for me, Ian the Dynamo Kelly, as your host, please do be sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell notification, and please comment and let us know what you agree or disagree with. Am I being too harsh on Bad Bunny? Are you a fan of Bad Bunny? And I should really keep my mouth shut and say nothing. You just tell me. That's no problem, and I'll be sure to respond. So, yeah, Noel. Of course, you have the upper tier going as well.
Yep.
Be sure to go over and check out the Upper Tier podcast, which is on YouTube, has its own channel now as well. Tell all the guys and gals what you got going on and where they can find you and how they can support the show.
Yeah, we're over there, the Upper Tier on YouTube. You'll get us on TikTok, the Upper Tier podcast. If you want to contact us, the Upper Tier podcast on gmail.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, the Upper Tier, and we're on Twitter at @the_upper_tier. Plenty of content coming your way. We did a deadline day countdown last night live on YouTube, and we have a couple of shows coming up this week. The Beat the Bookie show will be back this week. We're also going to do an FA Cup and Premier League preview. We're going to be doing a preview for the AFCON semi-finals and the final coming up this weekend. So it's going to be a busy weekend, no doubt, with match reactions and previews and player ratings and all that kind of stuff. Back in the saddle again after a kind of a little bit of a hiatus for 2 weeks, even though we were still dropping content. So yeah, all good.
I love it. I love it. Well, that is all we have time for this week. Don't forget, tomorrow we have a very, very special episode with Vince Russo. And if you didn't hear it last week, Niall has done a bro count. The verdict, well, it's not a verdict, the count is in. And basically, whoever gets closest in the comments to to how many times that to Vince Russo says bro, we'll get a free mug sent to you. So,
and just in case you're guessing, one sentence alone has 12 bros in it, so you're gonna have to get counting.
Yeah, and I think at one point we did say that there would be a countdown of how many times me and him would say bro, and I was like, it's not even close with me because it's not. No, I change it up.
Ian, for anyone who doesn't know, and you'll pick it up tomorrow when you see it, but Ian was probably less than a quarter of Vince's bros, but it was cool, bro.
But it was a great show, and of course, check out the latest episode that dropped yesterday with Sonny Ono, of course, the innovator of the selfie, of course, the manager of the Ultimo Dragon and Bull Nakano and people like that, and one of Eric Bischoff's best friends, who you may see on this show one day in the future. You never know. Don't underestimate the kid, as they say. So until next week, I've been your host, Ian Kelly. Niall, thanks once again for joining me.
No bother.
And until next week, we are over and out.